Metals have always played an essential role in human society for their strength and tenacity. Therefore, it is no wonder that we have classified the various stages of human existence based on the strength of new metals discovered, such as the Bronze Age. This practice of associating metal strength with human existence and power is no different in fantasy and superhero universes. The Marvel Universe has had a history of superheroes using particular types of metals for their weapons. In this episode, we will discuss one such metal known as the Dargonite. Before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us, it means a lot. Thank you. Let's begin. Dargonite, myth of origin. The first mention of an alloy called Dargonite was made in the 18th issue of the Guardians of the Galaxy comics, named Guardians of the Galaxy Punished. The issue dates back to September 1991. The story begins on the futuristic island of Manhattan in the year 3018 AD, where the Guardians have returned after 4 long years. Major Vance Astro, Charlie 27, Nikki Gold, and Yondu constitute the 4 super beings recognized for surviving the Interstellar War. At the beginning of this particular issue, they are found to be roaming around the cosmos with the sole intention of protecting the Milky Way galaxy. Later in the story, we find that the Guardians and their allies, the Commander, the Commandeers, are waging a civil war against the Punishers. In the middle of this war, Major Vance gets hit by a bullet, which ruptures his suit but is not able to penetrate the temple. Now, here comes the catch. Captain Vance's containment suit is made of adamantium, a metal that practically nothing can tear apart. At this point, we come to know from a character in the comic that several metals, on the contrary, can tear adamantium, Dargonite being one of them. This is precisely when Dargonite was first mentioned in the Marvel Universe. Although unclear, Dargonite gets its name from a future Thor existing in the 31st century. Its exact composition is also not revealed anywhere correctly. All we know is that it uses the name Uru, a metal that is durable and strong to the extent that the heat of a star is needed to melt it, required to forge weapons like Stormbreaker and Mjolnir in the furnaces of Nidavellir. Therefore, there's no doubt that this particular alloy revolves around the curiosity and interest of Marvel fans. From other sources, we can infer that there are 2 different metals apart from Dargonite: Wolverine's adamantium and Captain America's vibranium were both speculated to be weaker than Dargonite. There's ample debate on whether adamantium and vibranium isotopes are there in Dargonite. MCU/MU speculations on Dargonite. In order to understand the power of Dargonite in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, how it is introduced there, and the speculations and fan theories associated with it, one needs to understand the characteristics of vibranium and some of the significant uses of the double-edged sword of Thanos. It is necessary because, as we know, Thanos' double-edged sword could shatter Captain America's vibranium shield, which is only possible when the sword is made of Dargonite. Now, we shall look into a detailed analysis of the double-edged sword of Thanos, its history, and the occasions used to see if the speculations about its being made of Dargonite can be confirmed. The Avengers defeated. Thanos is a Marvel supervillain who appeared for the first time in The Invincible Iron Man, issue 55, in February 1973. Created by Jim Starlin and Mike Friedrich, he is often portrayed as a super powerful warlord with an ambition of killing half the entire universe's population and becoming the most powerful being in the Marvel Universe. The double-edged sword is the key weapon Thanos uses throughout his presence in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Its blades have a rotating mechanism, and when thrown at something or someone, it returns to Thanos like a boomerang. Now, we will delve into some of its primary uses in the history of Marvel Cinematic Universe, featuring Thanos in the films Avengers Endgame and Avengers Infinity War. During the massacre of the Corbinites in Corbin, one of the planets watched over by Heimdall, Thanos, the Titan-born warlord, came to know about the whereabouts of the Power Stone, which constitutes one of 6 Infinity Stones known to exist. He is known to have used the double-edged sword for the first time here in 2014, and that was in the Marvel film Guardians of the Galaxy, released in the year 2014. After the massacre, he returns to his warship. In an alternative universe of 2014, Thanos once again learns about the Power Stone and decides to kill the Avengers in their original timeline to get the Infinity Stones they possess first. This event portrays one of the most significant uses of Thanos' double-edged sword at the Avengers compound. He initially ordered the compound to be eradicated by shooting missiles from his warship, Sanctuary 11. After a point, he was transported from his warship to the ruins, where he was ready to face and kill the Avengers. Later, there is a war between the Avengers and him. Here, the use of his sword is something to be noticed. He repeatedly deflects Iron Man's repulsor beams with his sword. Thor's Stormbreaker and Mjolnir fall flat before the double-edged sword, although Iron Man and Thor briefly unarmed him. The most most interesting observation to be made here is that Captain America's vibranium shield gets entirely shattered by a blow of the sword, which proves that the sword must be made of something more potent than vibranium. Wanda Maximoff breaks off his sword in two during the war on Earth against the Avengers and their allies. After the blip, a process that resurrected half the population of the universe that Thanos had killed with a snap. Maximoff came back to life. She and the other allies join the Avengers in the quest to defeat an alternate universe, Thanos. She manages to break his sword in two by a single strike, but the question remains. It makes the speculations regarding the double-edged sword, which is made of Dargonite, even more complicated. How do the fans assign a unified list of characteristics to this enigmatic metal? Is it legitimate to say that the Marvel Cinematic Universe has already introduced the Dargonite? What would be the consequences if its presence in the franchise is acknowledged and confirmed? Let's find out. Uncertainties and implications. The final usage of the double-edged sword is encountered in the famous Infinity War. Thanos uses it against the Illuminati to procure the Infinity Stones. But interestingly, he gets killed in the battle with his double-edged sword, the same weapon that is at the crux of so much speculation. In the case of Ultron's son Vision, another superhero character from the Marvel Cinematic Universe, who turned against his makers to join the Avengers, Corvus Glaive's cosmic glaive could penetrate his suit. The glaive is known to have been made using an extraterrestrial metal that can pierce through the skins of Vision, Hulk, Asgardians, and Hyperion. It is known to even cut through subatomic atomic particles due to its sharpness. Most importantly, it can cut through vibranium, which is why it could cut through Vision's body. It is known that Ultron used the alloy vibranium to build Vision's body. Does that suggest that the cosmic glaive is composed of the Dargonite alloy? Even Shuri's Black Panther vibranium gauntlets couldn't produce the exact effects that the glaive had on Vision's vibranium body. Therefore, Dargonite's origin, access, and availability to Marvel supervillains remains a mystery. More information on vibranium, its origin myth, and its strength is available, but there is a modicum of doubt that remains. If we look into the origin of the metal, we will notice that it is pretty similar to the metal used in the cosmic glaive. Vibranium is itself an extraterrestrial metal. Then, is it a key ingredient in the Dargonite alloy? The question remains. In MCU, it is officially regarded as the most robust metal known. However, if Dargonite is formally confirmed to exist in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, which according to our analysis, might have grave consequences for the Avengers, the Guardians, and the other allies combined. If Thanos uses it to forge his weapon, it might lead to a world war. Vibranium resources from the African nation of Wakanda might need an immediate upgrade. From what we discussed earlier, it is clear that the Avengers and their allies would have to look for the missing links in the composition of the Dargonite alloy to upgrade their weapons for better resistance. The vibranium resources are by no way completely useless. They need to use it better. The most crucial concern for the MCU would be that if they introduce the metal with a proper story of origin and composition, there will be a rush from all sides to procure it. If it falls into the wrong hands, it can be used to counter both adamantium and vibranium. It is interesting here to notice that we still know very little about the relative strength of Dargonite and its capabilities, other than the fact that it could successfully tear through the other strong metals of the Marvel Universe. After a certain point in a particular war, Dargonite could always tear apart vibranium. For instance, Thanos could break Captain America's vibranium shield by repeatedly hitting it with his double-edged sword. From this instance, we can understand that its victory over adamantium and vibranium depends on its being used repeatedly and over time during an attack. So, using it in weapons with sharp edges or bullets is best. On the other hand, the metal ore called Uru relates to Dargonite. We must remember that Thanos used Uru to forge his double-edged sword, for which he had to massacre the entire population of Nidavellir. This neutron star is the breeding ground for the dwarfs, known for their excellent skill in forging metal as blacksmiths. Thanos stormed onto their planet and demanded they forge his weapon with Uru. On being denied by Eitri, he massacred the population and crippled Eitri. Uru is a metal ore originating from the first moon returning to eternity. It's durable, like a metal, and can retain magical powers. It can withstand enormous heat, measured on the unit of star energy. Here, we can recall how Thor could unarm Thanos with his Uru-forged Stormbreaker and hammer. Iron Man, whose suit also incorporates Uru, participated in this endeavor. Here, one can also speculate that Uru can be a formidable competitor to Dargonite. However, its metallic properties cannot be determined and proved for sure due to its ability to retain magical properties like a sponge. Is there any actual relationship between Uru and Dargonite that Thanos is aware of? Conclusion. From this entire discourse, one thing is pretty evident. The existence of Dargonite, which is just beating around the bush in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, is ready to be unleashed and declare itself as the most robust metal that the Marvel Universe has ever encountered. Introduced in the 1991 issue of Guardians of the Galaxy franchise, this metal lingers around every character, good or evil. It determines their relative strength in this epic universe, just like ours. Metals and access to those metal reservoirs would determine who rules. Undoubtedly, the Dargonite has the potential to tap into the deepest and darkest desires of the superhero and supervillains to dominate the universe, leading to immense bloodshed and world wars. And if you liked our content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. Have a good one and be safe. Thanks, everyone.